AT&T put out a vision statement back around CES of 10 years from now, they don't see running a TDM network. They see everything as being voice over IP, being on a data-centric network. That's going to be crucial for all of these applications. I'll divert a little for the news of the day in net neutrality of, I actually think that net neutrality is going to be much less of an issue that we all worry about. Everybody makes their living off the data networks. I'm sure there's the concern in the operators of, hey, we want to limit the people who are sucking up too much, but anything they do that impacts the use decreases the value of their data network, decreases the value of being an ISP, cuts into their own ability to push video over IP and other things like that. So, we'll see these data-centric futures that leave us connected all the time through various wireless technologies and everything else. The next point of the dial pad not being the interface of the future, if you think about touch screens and the interfaces we're getting in these rich social applications, that just removes the need for a dial pad. Why should I think about what your phone number is or look you up in my address book? If we work together in LinkedIn, that's where I'm going to contact you from. That's the interface I'm going to use. As we do this, it means that voice over IP and all the elements of toll and the telephone disappear as well. And that has impacts both for, networks and the government. Government makes a good bit of taxes off tariffed phone services. And as these things start to disappear and they turn into multiple protocols and everything else, it becomes a very different thing to regulate and control. And it sort of changes the whole economics of the business. So as network operators look at it, the fact that they're carrying the data, that it's voice, that disappears. The business model of what better device integration, what better mobile integration can I give you, all of these things start to carry more weight. As I mentioned, we're talking to a number of consumer electronics manufacturers these days. And the funny thing was they came to us. We never would approach them directly. It's a tough business. They've got long lead times, and we didn't think it was all that important. And the trend sort of came to us as they've come to realize that every device they have needs to be connected. And it turns out to have multiple benefits from them. One is it starts out, differentiating, hey, our TV has a Facebook integration in it, or our set-top box does Twitter. But as everybody, matches that, it turns into a element where they're finding new device categories. So the kinds of concepts that are floating around now are for things that don't really exist in the market today as singular elements. I mean, if you look at the iPad as a media consumption device, your ability to watch video on it, to share things, to do things like that, whole different environment than a TV, a whole element of sort of consuming video that didn't exist before for these consumer electronics manufacturers. So all of these different devices which have a different UI, they have a different screen size, they have different interfaces, they have different processors. And all of those end up being right for different environments or uses. The beauty if you're a manufacturer is, hey, my product line can now expand. I can reach more niches, I can sell more devices at different price points, and that lets me get a larger share of wallet and be more part of a customer's life. Particularly if I can do nice interface things that tie my brand devices together right across the product line. It also means a shorter refresh cycle from the consumers. So, I cannot remember exactly what the time of this stat was, but in the last 5 to 10 years, a TV refresh cycle for a consumer was about 5 years. Every 5 years you would get a new TV. What's happening now is as these consumer electronic devices are becoming more computer-oriented, that refresh cycle becomes shorter. I mean, think of your car. I mean, I bought a Acura in 2005. Nice car, had the latest technology of the day. Right now in 2010, the engine runs fine, but the electronics are severely dated. You know, the option for me of being able to pay for an electronics upgrade in an otherwise perfectly good car is a really interesting concept for auto manufacturers. I mean, think about, you know, the Microsoft Sync technology that's being pushed out right now. All of that is kind of frozen in time. Give us firmware upgrades, give us interfaces that we can add new devices, new elements into it, and all of these things start to change. So that, again, for the manufacturers of the equipment, opens up a lot of interesting, exciting doors. For application developers, you know, it's an obvious thing. Be part of the social web. You must add social elements to everything you build because that's how we live and work today. Think about the context of your application and the interaction of the users, and how do you open that up? How is your application to go from just being, oh, I want to post information, to people are going to use this to interact and to share and to be part of that? How does an application work across multiple devices without requiring a major reboot every time you go to a new device? It was interesting that Apple's pushing out their AdLib framework just today to sort of give developers a way to take web content, repurpose it to multiple devices, and to do that quickly. Next slide, please. Very quickly touch on some of the, you know, issues around this grand vision. The big question is timing. How fast do these devices come out? Where does the mobile access come from? We get to LTE, we have WiMAX coverage, making this seamless and making the business model sort of fit. I'm willing to pay for a data plan for my iPhone. Does that mean for my iPad I need to purchase another full data plan, or is it a partial data plan? What happens if I take my iPad and I use the $15 data plan and cancel my cell phone? That's going to have huge impacts for mobile carriers. You know, I spend $100 a month on my cell phone bill. If I can get the $15 iPad plan, granted I don't want to carry the iPad around as a phone, it has a whole different impact as a business model. The whole triple play concept of, hey, we have, you know, your voice, your TV, we have internet access. Well, when all that starts to come through internet access, including my mobile, that turns into a single play option. And that whole business model, and especially if you sort of bring everybody to the point of, hey, now your monthly bill is $200 or $300. If that's for my family, unlimited data and video across all the devices we have, that might be something that's possible. But to get the mixture of the device, the access, and business model, that's going to take us some time to sort out. A lot of the interoperability issues, and you know, if you think about what Google's been learning when they bring out the Android system, it's great, it's open, but different hardware means different form factors, different options. Makes it much more complex for an app developer to build on Android than it does on iPhone. That's something that, you know, is interesting as apps ourselves. You know, we deal with the element of, great, we've built code here, and now we've got to port it to here and here and here. Turns QA into a nightmare, and features more complex. All of that is a big issue. And then at the end of the day, users don't want to learn new things. So the network access and behavior across all these things has to be consistent. So as I'm using an application, whether it's Yelp or whatever else, the way I talk and interact, I should be able to do it from my laptop, my cell phone, my iPad, whatever other new device that comes out.